joke. So, what do we think? That's what I thought. My name is Plummer. I'm the senior film programmer. I am so excited to welcome the people who made this film. Let's start with screenwriter JT Mollner, producer Roy Lee, and our amazing cast. We've got Charlie Plummer, Garrett Wareing, Wang, Judy Greer, Jonsson, Hoffman, and the one and only Hamill. So I feel like everyone's still reeling just from how incredibly intense that was, but we're gonna jump right in, and I'm glad you're right here to my left, JT. I'd love to start with you, just kind of walking through, the process of adapting this. I know Stephen King's work means a lot to you. I think I've read that you started reading him when you were around 7. So can you just talk about what his work means to you and how that kind of informed how you were gonna work on The Long Walk?
Yeah, my mom, who's in the room tonight, her name's Ginny, like the gin, like the drink, G-I-N. I got my first Stephen King book when I was 7. I was in 2nd grade. It was called Carrie, and I was reading it. Found it at a used bookstore in Ojai, and I took it into class, and I got sent to the principal's office. And my mom came into the principal's office when I was in trouble and said, I'm not going to tell my kid not to read. And so from that, it took me a long time to get through that book, but and I didn't understand most of it. But I became a constant reader at that point, and became a giant fan of Stephen King, and he informed so much of my style as a prose writer and now as a screenwriter, and I'll be forever indebted to him. But I told Roy when we were working on Strange Darling, the movie that we made together a couple years ago, that I love Stephen King, and he knew I loved Stephen King. And when I finished editing that movie, he was like, "What do you want to do next?" And I said, "I'd love to write something." And he said, "How about The Long Walk?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to write The Long Walk." But he said I had to meet Francis Lawrence. Francis Lawrence had to choose me. And I met with Francis, and Francis said, I want to make the movie that Stephen King wrote in that book. Like, I want to go hard, I want to go all the way. I want to keep the DNA of that book. And that was exactly the screenplay I wanted to write. So I'm eternally grateful to Roy Lee and Francis Lawrence. And I think Francis did a tremendous job going all the way with this film. And thank God Stephen King liked the script, because that was probably the scariest moment of my professional life, hearing that Stephen King was going to read the script and tell us whether he liked it enough or not. And thank God. I mean, Lionsgate had to like it first, and they did. We had Meredith and Aaron and everybody over there on our side, but then the last stop was Stephen King, and that was scary. That was really, really scary, but he liked it. It was fucking amazing.
Is there anything, as you were adapting it, and I'm sure you were reading The Long Walk over and over, was there anything new you discovered about King in sort of going under the hood to, tell the story in your own way? Was there anything new that you realized?
He draws characters so well, and I knew that if I didn't get the characters right, the movie wouldn't work. And I knew if it wasn't cast right, the movie wouldn't work. So there were a few benchmarks we had, but it was terrifying adapting it, because there are 100 walkers in the book, and I knew we had to make this into a movie that was under 2 hours, so we had to amalgamate characters. We had to sort of eliminate characters, but I didn't want them to be eliminated completely, so we would maybe take one away, spread them around, and you'll find the DNA of other characters and certain characters you love. but it was all about finding, like, bringing those characters to life properly, because I think that's what Stephen King's strength is. I mean, he's a narrative genius, but really his strength is fleshing out these characters. And the same thing happened to me. I read The Long Walk. It was the same feeling I felt when I got done with the Dark Tower series. I didn't want to read another book for a long time afterwards because I felt like I'd lost friends. And I wanted people, after they saw this movie, to feel like they'd lost friends, because that's how Stephen King made me feel. So that was the goal, and I knew that Garrett and McVrie's, we had to kind of distill it down to their love story. You know, the two of them, that story of loyalty and love and friendship and connection and everything else. And if that relationship didn't work, the movie would not work. And so once again, it came down to writing that relationship, and then if the casting wasn't correct, it wouldn't work. And obviously, I mean, in my opinion, the casting was totally correct. Yeah.
Before we open it up to the cast, I want to hear from you, Roy. If you could just, since it was said in the intro, this film took over 30 years to finally adapt The Long Walk, and there's a lot of false starts with many different directors. How did you come to this yourself, and how did you make it happen, essentially, after so many others had tried and failed?
Well, I have to thank Rand, Stephen King's agent. I was having lunch with him, and he had reminded me that I wanted to do The Long Walk after it. I had told him that was the book I wanted to do, and he said the rights were coming up. And when I got the rights, it was actually one of the fastest movies we ever put together. It was like within 2 years of getting the rights, it was wrapped and ready to go.
Thank you, Rand.
Yeah.
He's in here somewhere.
So I'd love to hear from each of the cast just the connection that you formed with your characters. What struck you when you read JT's script, and how did you kind of prepare for your roles? And I thought we could start with Mark, because this is your second Stephen King adaptation just this year. So I was curious what it is you find in Stephen King's writing in general, and what drew you to the major.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what the major meant by stretch that sack. What the hell does that mean? Who talks like that? No,
The major.
it shows you what versatility Stephen King has as a writer, because you cannot find a film more different than The Long Walk than The Life of Chuck. It's extraordinary. And with Chuck, I said, I don't know how I'm going to go out on the promotional trail. How do you describe the indescribable? I mean, the more people know about it, the less of an impact it has. And this thing, oh my God. I read the premise and I said, forget about being in this movie. I don't think I can see this movie. But what you realize when you read the original material and then JT's script that adapted it so well is that that's the grabber. That's where King has you. He has your complete attention, and then he leads you to the real story, the heart and soul, which is this journey that these young men have. That's where the humanity and the all of it comes from that. So don't be distracted by, I invited people tonight that said, I don't think I can see that. To each his own.
Let's go to Cooper and David next. I love that you're sitting together, because I'd love to hear just about each of you finding your characters individually and how you kind of prepared to form your bond, which I think as JT has said, is really the heart and soul of the film.
Me and David just became friends quite quickly. We didn't really have to find it. It was kind of just there, which is quite nice. And I feel like, I'll speak for David on this one. I feel like we've found that with everyone in the movie. It was kind of easy, which is a kind of boring story, but that's kind of the truth. Yeah.
I fully disagree. No, I'm joking. I definitely agree. No, honestly, working with Cooper is genuinely one of those experiences, and I will speak for all of us actually, as young actors trying to figure this out. This is a dream, making movies and making a Stephen King, novel, and working with the whole team at Lionsgate, JT and Francis. This is a dream.
But to take it to another step is to have things that feel so easy and natural, even when you're doing the hardest possible things. And working with Cooper and the rest of these boys was exactly that. So, yeah.
We'll just keep going down the line. Judy, what was it about JT's writing that, I mean, your performance, I mean, is just so raw and visceral. Where did that come from? Was it embedded in JT's writing? How did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, the best scripts, you don't have to do much. So I feel like we can all agree that it was all on the page. The idea of what this woman must have been going through and thinking about what all parents go through when they say goodbye to their kids before sending them off to war, to something like this. It was pretty horrific, so I didn't have to work that hard. I did have to work hard because we goofed around a lot. So sometimes we had to separate for a quick second to gather ourselves.
Judy is the most fun person to work with ever, which is really hard on a movie like this.
Yeah, we found some respite from the horror, definitely. But yeah, it was all on the page. It really meant that. It was such a beautiful story, and it was an honor to be named after your mother. So that's all.
It's Francis's mom's name too, which is great.
And my mom, who's here too.
I love you, moms.
Ben, Garrett, and Charlie, each of you play, you know, not just characters, they're full fleshed out people, and not just, you know, the other walkers. Like, how did you kind of develop that with your director and with JT?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Judy. It was on the page.
The accent was on the page.
No, this is the only. No, that part was not.
That accent was not on the page.
The accent was crazy. I don't know what came over me when I said that audition tape. No, I mean, I remember I read it. I was like, yeah, this guy never shuts up. And then I, for some reason, I was like, he's gotta have an old-timey Brooklyn accent. He's gotta. I mean. I'm joking about it now, but it was a gut instinct, and I was like, I'm just gonna follow it because for some reason it's really strong. And thanks for letting me keep that. Thanks, Francis.
At what point do you say I'm walking here in the accent?
Yeah, I know. I thought about that. I'm like the second they were showing, oh man, this is turning into a joke.
You should have chewed some gum up here, man.
You know, I will say, first of all, thank you to the Lionsgate publicity team for getting us all together and supporting film and allowing us to celebrate this film. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed. There's billboards everywhere. People are really supporting this film, and it's thanks to you guys, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for coming out and supporting our film as well. It is a true honor to be sitting among such talented, kind individuals. You know, yes, we bonded with these characters that we played, but we bonded more with each other behind the scenes. And this is a bond I will never forget, and I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for what this film has meant to me and this chapter of my life.
I wasn't allowed to bond. No, seriously, I said, I should have a brunch over at the hotel and meet the whole cast. And when I told Francis, the director, my plans, he said, Cooper Hoffman doesn't want to meet you.
I was testing something out.
I said, what? And I realized, oh, he said he's afraid he's going to like you. And I said, of course. I respect the actor's process. So I just canceled the whole thing, and I met people arbitrarily if they came up. I talked to them. A lot of those soft focus guys. But eventually, pretty much the whole cast. And when we wrapped, this guy came over, and we were best friends all our lives. After he had his last shot, then I couldn't get him out of my trailer. See, there's no points to my story. They just abruptly end.
No, I wanted to hear from Charlie as well. Your character's really complex. You know, you kind of hate him at times, but then you feel so bad for him. Like, what was your entry point in this character?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it starts with the writing, and we were just so lucky that this entire group from the top down wanted an open collaboration from the beginning. So I kind of came in with a bunch of different ideas, and they were just all welcomed with open arms. And that is really rare, let alone on a studio film, and let alone on a Stephen King film. And so I think us just feeling that freedom, that kind of became the wind beneath us for so much of it. But yeah, I like my guy. I mean, you know, he's an interesting guy, and he really wants friends. And I kind of early on had to decide, oh, am I going to just let myself be friends with these guys? Because that's what I really want underneath everything. And then I very quickly said, yes, I'm going to let myself do that. And that became the rest of the experience. But yeah, we got really, really lucky.
Can I say, Francis wanted Barkovich to be like not villainous, and I felt that way too. Like, nobody should be black and white. It wasn't a black hat, white hat movie. And I don't think on the page, I tried my best, but I don't think even in the script, Barkovich was very accessible. I really, really tried. It was how Barkovich was cast. When I saw what Charlie was doing with that role, and it's very similar to what I watched happen with Stebbins, just so impressed with what those two actors were able to do with those characters, because it wouldn't happen. I think a lot of people were feeling for them and having empathy for them in those final moments, and I don't think it would have happened if you hadn't delivered things the way you did. And there were changes made too. There were things they did that weren't in the script, and I think they were really, really strong choices.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk just about how physically demanding this, seemed to be. Did anyone keep track of how many miles, how many steps you walked the entire? Okay.
I walked 261 miles on this movie. Not only I, but all the background actors, our ADs, our sound team, the makeup department, they were all walking there with us, and it was not a one-man show by any means. And how physically demanding this was, I remember being on set the first day ever that we were shooting, and it was that really hot day with the dog that was barking, and we're walking, and I think we ended up doing 12 miles that day in like 100-degree heat, and after the first take, I look at Ben, and he goes, "What did we just get ourselves into?"
I was like, oh shit. How much shooting days do we have?
You know, I felt a sense of envy for the boys that went earlier, oddly, because they got to stop walking. And I began to get very envious of the man there on the end because he got to ride in a Jeep.
But everyone knows this movie was shot in sequence, which is, in all my years in the business, that's unheard of. It's cost ineffective. It's Lionsgate, we should be grateful because you see the progression of these young, fresh faces into the ravages that befall them. Incredible, because I'm looking down, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, that's the guy that played Barkovich? Why does he look completely different to me? Really, you're like a different person.
Thank you.
And you're great in the movie, oh my God. All of you guys, I'm telling you, I didn't get to see it until they screened it. I read it, but to see the performances and to a person, perfection. And even the soft focus guys, because they do come into focus and they're all into it, even if they don't have lines. It's flawlessly cast.
At what point in the process did you determine it was going to be 3 miles per hour? Because I think the book is 4, right? Which I guess is physically impossible.
Really?
That was one of the only notes that Steven sent back whenever he read the script and said he loved it, but he wanted it to be reduced from 4 to 3 because he thought it would be really impossible for these kids to do that.
Roy Coleman said it. Stephen King once, it reduced to 3. And I wrote back to the email and I was like, it says 4 in the book, does he not know that? And he said, yeah, he said he wrote it when he was really, really young, and he was wrong, and he's always wanted that to be changed. So we were able to do a revision, like a late revision to the novel for Mr. King, which is really cool.
For any of the actors, was it just challenging just to like act at a certain rhythm at all times? Like, did you find that restrictive, or like did you get used to it fast? Who wants it?
I'll take it. It was really hard. No, I was watching these behind the scenes movies that will be on the DVD and anything that you buy, and I'm going to quote Francis now, who's obviously not here, and he was talking about how incredible all the young men were because of the walking and because of the pace, that they had to be so completely and totally and utterly prepared at all times, that every line had to be completely perfect, memorized, spoken at pace, and that they all did it, and they were all incredible, and that every step was useful, every scene was useful, every take was useful and could be used, and that is really hard to do, to continue to perform under those circumstances and with the cadence and the rhythm of the writing and everything. So I'm just quoting Francis, what he said about you guys. I didn't see it personally. I was literally on the sidelines, but you guys did great.
I don't know about you guys, but we would shoot like long takes, like 9-10 minute takes sometimes, because we had long scenes. And I don't know about y'all, but I would get nervous towards the end of certain takes, because I'm like, oh, this is a good one. Like, we're really in it this time. This is a good one. And I don't want to mess up my final line here in this scene. But yeah, we all were kind of like locked in, and we had no other choice but to just like be in it. And towards the end, when you're seeing us limp and you're seeing us ache, like that's all real, man. That emotion's real. Those blizzards were real.
Cooper, were you gonna
No,
say?
I was just gonna say we shot one scene a day. That's how we shot, which is like kind of it's odd to do that, but it kind of was like a play. You got to just do it over and over and over again, which was really nice. But if someone fucked up their line, it was really annoying to reset because we'd be walking back like 2 miles to reset. Todd fucked up a few times. We killed it. I mean, oh my God, Jesus. He was so good in the movie, I can say that.
Since this was shot chronologically, I can imagine that it also really captures some narrative beats in your mind as actors. Some of your friends who you've got to know very well are being killed off and they're gone, right? So I'm curious if that kind of resonated with you and it like kind of informed some of your performance. And maybe we go to Cooper and David, since you make it to the end and had it most strongly affected by that.
Yeah. The perk of shooting chronologically is, I think, as an actor, it's our jobs to know exactly what's happening at all times. I love spontaneity, but I do appreciate people that do the work and come and know what is happening. The perk of, shooting chronologically was that you could afford to let what you know go because you felt it happen before. So there's like, you guys walk into the movie theater to watch this, you're like, okay, I met my friends, I'm sitting here, and if God forbid something bad happened, they're like, oh my gosh, this feels really bad, as opposed to stepping into the movie theater first and then going out to meet them. Do you know what I mean? So for us, really, it was a gift to feel like this bond grow and then like something terrible happened, which happens a lot in this movie, unfortunately. I really do think it was, we were really lucky to be able to shoot it this way, really lucky.
Anyone else want to speak to that? No. Well, that's fitting because I'm getting the signal we almost have to wrap, but I want to turn it back to Roy and JT. Since this film is coming out on Friday, I'm curious what you want audiences to leave feeling, whether it's emotionally or intellectually. I think this is a very timely film and it's an important one to be seeing right now. What do you want audiences leaving, feeling or thinking?
I was hoping that it would give the feeling to the audience the same way that I felt when I saw Stand By Me. It was like something that I felt the friendship and the bond between the boys, and just a really nice feeling after it, and just remembering this movie for a long time.
I love Stand By Me. It's weird answering these kind of questions over the last few weeks too without the director in the room, because it's a Francis Lawrence movie and this is definitely very much his movie, and we're all just contributing to it. But I would say that I feel like his goals and mine as I was writing it were just to, you know, there's lots that the movie observes and says, and it can be a metaphor for a number of things. But I think at core, the most relatable and accessible thing to look at is love. And I've never really written a screenplay that's not a love story on some level. And this is all about like relationships and how they matter more than anything you can work for your whole life that's material. So I hope people will leave with that.
That's beautiful. Well, yeah.